Hello everyone, my name is Whitney Hauser, and today I am sharing with you a tool called TED-Ed. TED-Ed is a tool that you can use to create lessons and assignments around TED Talks or YouTube videos. You can either create these lessons from scratch, as you can see here, or you can use lessons that the people at TED have already created for you, and you can actually customize these lessons, which I think is very cool. So we're going to go ahead and get started by logging in, and I've gone ahead and used my UC password or UC email. Okay, so once you've created an account, you can start making your lessons. So I think the first thing we're going to do, or the first thing I'm going to show you, are some of the already created TED lessons, TED-Ed lessons. And because I am a chemist, we are going to work in science. And because I have a great deal of respect for her, we are going to work with Dr. Marie Curie. So this is what the page will look like when you select a video that you would like to work with. This is a TED Talk that somebody has already created. And someone has already titled it The Genius of Marie Curie. So you can click on this button to watch the video. And it's a good idea to watch the video first, because then that kind of gives you an idea of what is contained in the video, what kinds of questions to ask, what your students will be watching. And they're just really good videos as well. And that will be your students, from your students' perspective, that will be their first step, is to watch the video. And then the second step is to think. This is actually what the students themselves will see from their end. This is what they will see after they're finished watching the video. They will click on think, and then it will bring up however many questions were created for the video, or however many questions you've decided to assign for the video. And then they can select an answer, and then you just click save my answer, and then it tells you whether or not the answer was correct. Let's go ahead and go through and see what happens when you click on an incorrect answer. Let's see. Let's go ahead and click on this one. Okay. As I'm going to be showing you later, there's something called a video hint that you will be able to control, that I think is a really neat feature. Or they can just forego the video hint and try the question again, but they do have to get the question correct in order to move on. And then another section that this particular video contains is called Dig Deeper, or it's another option that you have to include in your TED-Ed lesson. This Dig Deeper section is basically a collection of resources this person chose to organize their resources. They chose to write paragraphs and include links to various resources, which I think is a really neat way to do that. I've also seen other videos where they've basically just they've listed out just lists of resources. So you can choose to do it that way as well. And then finally, we have the discuss feature, which I think is really nice for more advanced students. Because you can create sort of a prompt, as you'll see in a moment, where you can ask someone a question, where you can ask your students a question rather, and they can all chime in and put in their own responses, and you can choose to make it open to only your students so that it's not open to so that you can keep track of who is answering the questions so that it's not just random people on the internet. And so you can also keep track of whether or not they completed the lesson or not. That's what this completed lesson beside their name means. So I'm going to show you a neat option, I think, is to customize this lesson. So let's say you think that this is a really neat lesson, but maybe you thought that 9 questions was a little excessive. So you would just click on customize this lesson, and it takes you to this page. So you've got your video here. You can always click to watch your video in case you've forgotten something. But you can click to even change the title. This is the little, when you clicked on the video and there was just a brief introduction, this is that little introduction that you can write. You can customize that as well. And then these are the questions. And basically, you can click on each of these questions, and let's say you didn't like this particular answer. You thought that that was a little too out there or a little too easy, so you can just delete that answer. So you can just go that way. But we're just going to go ahead and cancel it for now and discard the changes. But you can see that it's fully customizable. You can change how many questions you have, how many answers each question has, what the answers are. They give you quite a lot of space to write your answers in. And then this is what I was speaking of early, this video hint. You actually get to select a moment in the video in which you think that if the student were to go to that particular moment in the video, they would be able to discover the answer. So if they were to incorrectly answer the question the first time, they have that option, as I showed you earlier, to go to the video hint that you've placed there for them so that they're able to get the answer correct and they can move on. This is the dig deeper section. This is where you were able to customize and add all of your resources and put any additional information or any additional reading, any more videos that you feel that they should watch, any links to their textbooks that they have access to, or any assignments that they have. This is really for you and your class, so whatever information you feel needs to be here, you can put here. And then finally, this is the discussion question. This was the sort of open-ended blog type question that was included at the end. So now we are going to go over to I'm going to show you what it's like to create a lesson from scratch. Okay, so the difference between adjusting a lesson and creating a lesson is that it's a little bit easier to identify some of the TED Talks when you create or when you are adjusting or customizing the lesson from the already prepared TED Talks than from when you are creating a lesson from scratch, as you'll see in a moment. Most of these videos that will come up when you search for a topic will be YouTube videos. So there's a lot more searching that is involved with creating a lesson from scratch. So I actually do recommend going through the already prepared TED Talk route or TED-Ed route, as it seems to be a little bit easier. But I'm going to show you how to do this as well. So we're just going to type in atoms, and we're going to just select this first one. And we are going to, again, you can click on the video.
Atoms are...
Sorry about that. You can click on the video to watch the video and make sure that it's an acceptable video for your students to watch. And then you go ahead and click continue. And again, this is the very same page that you saw before, but it's very empty. So they've gone ahead and filled in the lesson title for you. But basically, this is where you would put your introduction. The think is where you would put in the questions, and you can actually select between multiple choice questions or open answer questions, and which I think is a neat little feature that they have. The dig deeper, which is the additional resources, the discuss, and then this one has an and finally, which is just your closing thoughts, maybe some of the goals, some of the learning goals that you wanted your students to walk away with, that the previous TED lesson that we viewed chose not to display. But what you can actually do, let's just type in something so we can see some of these features. An introduction on... So here under this more button, you can preview your lesson, but one of the more important things is you can adjust your settings. So what you can do here is if you unclick or uncheck any of these boxes, any of these sections will be not visible. So maybe you don't want an and finally, kind of like the previous lesson that we viewed. If you don't want that section in your lesson, you just uncheck that section and it will not be visible to your students or to anyone else. And additionally, if you want other people to be able to take your lesson and then make their own lesson from that lesson, you can click this Make My Lesson Customizable. And then finally, whether or not you want to require your students to log in and create TED-Ed accounts. I think this is important if you want to keep track of who has completed the lessons and completed the coursework. Otherwise, they just create nicknames on the lesson pages. We're just going to hit cancel. And then finally, when your lesson is completed and you have all of your questions that you want, you just click publish, and you will be able to share your link with your, well, I don't, so again, it's going to ask you because I didn't necessarily select the box, but I'll be able to share my lesson with my students, a link to the particular lesson, and that's pretty much it. So let me know if you have any questions.